Let me begin by telling you this. The UAP, unidentified aerial but sometimes anomalous phenomena, not necessarily UFOs, disclosure event was mere propaganda from the government. All this alien hype for nothing. No, these are mere actors sent to distract the people from looking for the things that really matter. For example, defense programs, more secret aircraft designs, the rise of AI and weaponry associated with it. So let's talk about what's really going on. 6 months ago, the US military, during a secret, barely sanctioned raid in the wilds of Siberia, on a mission to destroy a building associated with false news efforts to sway the election, these cunning, brave agents found something. A village on the way, burnt, quiet, and blackened by something that had very much not been fire. Imagine, if you will, a village, but all destroyed, bodies piled around the place, silent, with no signs of life but the quiet cracking of the snow as they walked towards it. Picture that, but worse. The bodies were all joined together by a black, sticky substance that smelled both cruel yet sweet, in an odd, sickening way. Each member of the party experienced it differently though. One said it smelt like lavender mixed with the froth of decay. One claimed it was the smell of pine tar and something all too sweet and foul. The bodies too were covered in this substance, head to toe. And as they neared, they found more bodies strewn about the place, forming strange geometrical forms. 3 children forming triangles, 4 adults in a parallelogram. And as one Private Dawn claimed, crossing the ring of tarred bodies made them feel oddly humbled, disoriented, and euphoric. And lights, eerie and strange, hovering, like eyes, 6 of them, watching. This was when they noted that none of the bodies within the tar ring had decayed. Whatever had killed them must have killed them mere hours or minutes ago. And what beast or weapon had the ability to kill so many, so fast? A later examination by the team later discovered that they had been killed a dozen days ago, but the thing that killed them had also killed every single microbe, maggot, and animal in a 2-mile radius. Nothing had been there to decompose the body, and the tar had a preservation aspect to it. It burned a hole right through my flesh, one of them had reported. It was a tar. At the centre of the village was a figure, cross-legged, meditatively. This figure was the thing responsible, and it was anything but human. Its face was crocodilian, yet covered in soft fur that danced around the scales. 4 eyes that were closed, and 2 that were open, a hypnotic yellow within them. It was larger than any human person, and the rest of its humanoid-like shape was marred with thicker white fur, dotted in odd reddish patterns. If I had an image, I would display it. The beast is unable to be photographed. Any attempt to photograph it, Polaroid or otherwise, replaces it with the image of a candle in a dark room. The alien creature had 7 clawed fingers. And as the soldiers neared it, the creature awoke and lashed out, lunging and decapitating the first of the 6-man team. They fired. The black tar came rushing out, spraying an unfortunate soul and disintegrating her. The being then raised a hand and seemed to reach out into the void. A 3rd soldier was picked up and crushed by its unseen power. The remaining 3 continued to fire while retreating. It eventually, though still alive, lost too much tar blood to put up a fight and collapsed, eyeing the soldiers with ill intent. This is where I come in. I had been working on a rather shady program, something to do about pyramids on Mars, when the short man in a multicoloured sweater approached me. Juniper Castle. I looked up. Yeah? Listen, the program is almost complete. Give me a weekend. I remember him cutting me off. My name is Canopy Hydrangea, he introduced, extending a gloved hand. I shook it. Your work here has been more than useful for our needs. He looked around, as if being watched. Now, you're being relocated as head of another program. one that will pay you far more. I shook my head. I've got enough money from this post already, I mused. I'm retiring. I want to live my life. No more shady government work that might get me killed. He handed me a file. Then perhaps the quest of knowledge will entice you. It was several statements regarding the incident I illustrated above. The encounter and capture of the creature. A chance to work with a non-human intelligence. This sealed the deal. I'm in. I was blindfolded and drugged a couple days later and brought to an airplane. When I woke, I found myself being carried in the middle of an open desert and into a facility baked into the rock of a mountain. A stern-looking man welcomed me. "Ah, you must be our head researcher," he greeted. I mumbled something incoherent. "I am General McCullough. We've had the entity secured and sedated for your arrival." I noted others being carried into the facility. I pointed at them. "Those would be your team members, Dr. Cussell." There was a certain air of affability I didn't like about him. He snorted this weird laugh. "I will be in charge of your security and your data. The company is very interested in what you will recover." I found that my tongue had loosened. "The company?" I asked. "You mean the US government?" He thought for a moment. "Yes, both." I slipped into unconsciousness then, and awoke hours later in a bedroom, with a file next to me detailing the details and data my employees wanted me to collect. Simple things. Who was the entity? Why had it killed hundreds? Where had it come from? "It is useful for further use as a weapon of war," I whispered. I sighed and put down the report. Fair enough. It was my life for the next 6 months. I met the being in question, and when it saw me and my team, it seemed to loosen up. Probably because we weren't the ones carrying massive automatic rifles and pointing it at it. The tar so many had described as noxious smelt rather sweet too. It didn't burn through my skin, and merely solidified into a cool jelly. This was not for the other researchers though. Data and biological samples taken from the being seemed to always find interesting results from me. This was less so for the others. Samples would evaporate into thin air. Data would suddenly disappear. One handler even began to experience nausea and later, visions of a decaying world. For whatever reason, it was holding me at a higher level of respect than the others, and I think the others felt that and began to distrust me in a way. Reports wouldn't be shared. They would talk behind my back. They were jealous of what I had, and perhaps my odd, prodigal-like youth had an element to it as well. 4 months into our experiments, after a test sanctioned by the General had left it on the floor, collapsed, it spoke to me, right after all but me had exited the room. "Juniper Castle," it commanded. The door slammed shut. I heard no panic noises on the other side. I turned around. It was sitting cross-legged, 7-fingered hands crossed. 6 yellowed eyes stared at me. "Did you just speak?" It nodded. "I have discerned your language, child." "I am not a child," I hissed. I didn't mean to, but the day had been rather taxing. I had fought with the General on testing how much electrical shock the beast could handle before collapsing. All was quiet. Even the creature seemed shocked. "Compared to me, you are but a mere fledgling, child." "How old does that make you?" It was still too quiet. Why was no one opening the door, looking for me? Surely someone had noticed. I have lost my sense of time. I stepped forward, terrified yet intrigued. The systems that were supposed to kick and shoot the damn thing weren't working. "What? Who are you?" The creature smiled and rose triple my height. "I am the High Docent, Maz. My people were called the Adir, and I am the last of their kind, child." The words seemed oddly calm, and his presence turned from fear to something else. "Docent? That means teacher." He nodded. "Indeed. I was the high priest of my time. My name, Maz. It means he who teaches in the night." The door swung open behind me, as well as a team of exhausted researchers and soldiers, all pointing weapons at the Adir. "I mean no harm to you, children." The General gave him a look. "You killed a village." Maz smiled this disturbing smile. Perhaps it was their fate to die on that day. Perhaps I was. A laugh echoed around the room, though his lips did not move. Hungry. General McCullough raised his rifle and pointed, ready to shoot. Dr. Castle, step back. The laughter echoed again. Children, please, he demanded, a low something in his voice. Sit. The general coughed up black tar and was dragged down into a cross-legged position. Someone fired. Tar leaked from the Adir. He did not seem concerned. Don't, I hissed. I am, to a degree, immortal, Maz disclosed. Your weapons, though they may keep me here, mean nothing to me in the long term. I have lived eras longer than the lifespan of mankind. He closed his eyes and sat. I can merely wait. We exited the room. It was then that I realised I had forgotten to breathe. Fear and rationality gripped me then, twisted snakes of nausea clouding my mind. I overheard the general speaking with a man in the multicoloured sweater later that day. We, have a new goal, I believe, the man, Canopy, murmured. Some way to kill that creature. The general nodded. But we could learn so much more from it. The Adios live for... He silenced the general. We have all the data we need. He must die. Find a way to maim, kill and destroy. This is a decree of those in higher authority. Really? The board decrees it, he snapped. No Adir may live. They who come from the stars must die. With that, the call ended. He walked out and announced a new direction to the group. And from then, darker, heavy experiments began. Maz seemed to grow more violent. The data was less responsive than ever. Still, he seemed to respect and favour me, even as I was giving the orders to drain him of blood, to send him into shock. The others seemed to dislike me more and more. I didn't really know if it was true or not. It was almost as if I was being told what to feel, and yet it all felt genuine, true. I think it was too late that I realised I was being played by the creature. And then he appeared in a dream. Juniper Castle, he spoke, trapping me in the room one final time. Why do you put up with such foul children? It's part of my job, I answered. I get paid for this. He shook his head. But you know, deep down, Matt. His eyes seemed dreamy, hypnotic. I do not deserve to be slain, to be killed. I must be freed. Still, I was rational. You killed a village. And then I saw visions of so many more places, laced in tar and death. So many have died, but it was a necessary act. He could sense the question I wanted answered. Why? It is a way of prolonging my power over this physical world. But do not worry. All those I kill were fated to die at the hands of much worse fates. Would you like to see your fate? No. I preferred not to know. And despite it all, I didn't trust him. So you can die. He smiled, and the laugh grew louder than ever. For as long as there are those who know my name, I will live forevermore. I looked at him in shock and terror. To kill me, you must kill everyone here. The last pocket of those who know my name. And yourself. Who knew your name before they found you in that village? I snapped. He laughed again. Myself. They could have killed me, but they chose to take me alive. Even, he hissed, when a village elder told them to kill me. That wasn't in the report. The doors opened and I started to back away. Why are you telling me this? He smiled. Something is about to happen soon, and you will need my help. I fell through the doors, and the dream ended, abruptly, catapulting me into sweat that burned like tar. That something would be revealed a week from that day, that final day where all had been peaceful to a degree. There was an imminent attack on our position, General McCullough declared. A terrorist cell is coming, and we've got no safe way out of here. Surely a ransom can be paid, someone asked. The general shook his head sadly. No, we cannot let them find our data, or the creature. Everything here must be terminated. He looked at me. Dr. Castle, have you made progress on how to kill the entity? I didn't really know what to answer. I think he sent me a dream. We will have to die, I confessed. To kill him, all that know his name must die. The general looked up at me in confusion. I got the same dream. A hand rose up. And me. And others began to confess. He had spoken the words of his death to them all. The general backed away. Hold on, I must make a call. I, by nature, eavesdropped. General, the man in the sweater answered. What is the nature of this call? Have you found a way to kill it? The general told him about the dream. Is it all true? The man swore. Do not speak its name, the man growled. But yes, this information lines up with what we know. You must have everyone there terminated, including yourself, and ensure that cursed Adia dies with you. The general looked scared. It will be done. You will be remembered, General. The line ended. We were all given cyanide pills. All who resisted were taken away and shot. The enemy was to breach in a quarter of an hour. I got up and ran, surprising the guards, who shot at me, but not before I entered the lab and... I didn't want to die yet. That's what. So I entered the holding room alone a final time, to scream at him. You're making us die, I snarled. Why? He laughed. I assume it's happening. Soldiers are coming to raid this site. Your general did choose to hide this place in a territory unwelcoming of your government. Panic. Fear. I don't want to die. He gently patted me on the head. There is another option. Vow to free and serve me, and you too can be granted undying life. You're evil, I hissed. Never. You will have freedom under me, he promised, tugging at my heartstrings. My only request is that you bring others my name so that we, together, may grow more powerful in life and dying. I seek no other. There were shouts and shots outside. Hurry, child. Do it now, before they find us. I didn't want to die. I'm sorry. I found the release switch and deactivated security. I don't remember what happened after that. I know I heard a wall shatter and Mars appearing. And then I awoke to blood and black tar everywhere, with Mars in the centre. The tar seemed alive, dragging forth from the bodies of the dead this blue squirming substance and into his mouth. You have done well, child, Mars thanked. Let us leave this horrid place and tell all my story so that my name is forever remembered. That is all. I'm sorry. You know his name now. He cannot be killed, and he has plans to wreak havoc upon the world. The high docent Mars has gifted me his visions of the world in flame, of strange beasts fighting side by side, strange lights in the night air, strange ships of metal and wood, drifting. He has taught me the end of all things. And so have you. Fear his name. I don't want to die.